It's the 29th of March 1972. The Swedish duo Björn and Benny would enter the recording studio with their partners Agneta and Frida to record their very first song in English. Today we are celebrating 50 years of ABBA, for this is their beginning and they literally started with a bang.
People need hope, people need loving, people need trust from a fellow man. People need love to make a good living, people need faith in a helping hand.
Can you believe it's been 50 years?
Aber ich fühle mich so jung.
Hey. So, People Need Love was recorded exactly 50 years ago today. Let's dive into the history and legacy of this song, and for that, continue where we left off in our last video, because by the time the four future members of ABBA were about to record People Need Love, they have been working together for 3 years already. Björn would produce the recordings for Agneta, Benny for Frida, and even in songwriting, you could start to feel the magic coming together. But whenever all four happened to be together on vocals, that's where they must have felt there is something special here. Leading up to People Need Love, these are all the solo recordings on which all four members can be heard together. And with each of these recordings, you can really hear how they are getting closer and closer to the ABBA sound, culminating in the final four songs on Agneta's fourth album and in Frida's final single, which was recorded just 2 months before People Need Love. During this period, they had all moved to an area in Stockholm where the two couples would be as close as ever, and that bond is really reflected in the music from that time, especially in Frida's 2 recordings that were so close to People Need Love. And this leads us right into March and that important recording session. It's an immediate continuation from before, but many things were different too. This time they would record in English, and they specifically wrote an easy listening pop song with simple lyrics and catchy hooks. Their goal was to aim for a younger audience, but also for the international market. Even more important is another difference to their work from before. This time they would make it a song by all four of them, Björn and Benny, Agneta and Anni-Frid. This is reflected in the music, since it was a conscious decision to have the trading of lines between male and female lead singers. And even on this very first ABBA recording, the group effort was there when Agneta and Frida contributed the vocal arrangements for the ending of the song. I always liked this song with its big wall of sound production, the lyrics and many vocal layers, and the trading of lines between male and female. It was recorded with Merry Go Round on the same day, and both songs were released as A and B side of their first single in May 1972. The photograph that was used for the artwork was actually taken 2 years earlier. They were gathered under a canopy in Djurgården, which is still there today. It's actually not too far away from the TV tower, which can be seen in the background of another early photo session, and in fact many ABBA-related photo and filming sessions took place in and around Djurgården, so it's worth to check it out. But the fact that they used a photo from 2 years earlier somehow reminded me of a photo session that took place almost 50 years later in 2019, and which was also only released 2 years later, when their newest music was ready. Everything seems to be coming full circle. And back to the beginning, do you remember the many color variations for Björn and Benny's first single Hey Gamle Man, which happened to be the very first recording of all four future members on vocals? People Need Love got a similar treatment, and it was released in no less than 4 variations in Sweden, and of course with more alternate artworks in other countries. Before it was released on single, however, the song had its very first premiere at the end of April on Swedish TV. This was also their first performance as Björn, Benny, Agneta and Anni-Frid, and it was an early evening show for children, which would match their goal to win a younger audience. At the same time, this would be the start of what would become one of ABBA's most important tools to get their music out into the world: television. One of the prime examples would be the Eurovision Song Contest 2 years later, along with many unforgettable shining hours of television appearances, music videos, and even entire TV shows dedicated to ABBA, which all would not only bring their music into the living rooms of the farthest countries, but forever shape their equally important visual appearance. In these early days, it would bring them into the TV studios outside Sweden for the very first time. So let's see where else they performed People Need Love. In early 1973, just before their first album Ring Ring was ready, they performed the song in Germany, Austria, and most likely in Belgium too. On the performances in Germany and Austria, they did something they would never do again in their career, replacing a member. Frida's friend Inge Brundin stood in for Agneta, who was pregnant at the time. It wasn't a big deal, of course, for they were performing to playback only and no one really knew them yet. So if you ever wondered why Agneta looked so different for the rest of ABBA's career, it's because this was not Agneta. Another rarity is seeing Benny on acoustic guitar for the German TV performance, and in Austria he was even playing e-guitar for the performance of Ring Ring. Even though Agneta is missing here, this appearance on Austria's Spotlight might be my favorite performance of People Need Love. Once again, this TV show was aimed for teenagers. They did a great job capturing the four into the frame, who all look really good, and I like how much Benny seems to be into the song. Look at his visual expression when he sings about the moon that a woman desires and which a man will take down if he can. There are no live recordings of People Need Love, but it was performed during their Swedish folk punk tour in 1973. In a spoken word greeting to promote this tour, People Need Love was one of the songs included as an excerpt. And there is an interesting alternate recording, not by ABBA, but by a group called Natural Train, which consisted of musicians from ABBA's very own studio band. We recently talked about this group in context with Björn's country re-recording of Hey Gamle Man, because they recorded an album of ABBA songs in country style called ABBA Our Way, and People Need Love is one of the 12 songs, and it's a great arrangement. ABBA's People Need Love entered the Swedish charts on number 3, and even though it was credited to all four of them, for quite some time the song was considered to be included on Björn and Benny's next album as a duo. They recorded quite a few songs during 1971 and 1972, from which a few were released as singles, also featuring Agneta and Frida on backing vocals. Eventually they were not convinced of the style they were heading to, so this follow-up to Lycka never happened, and many songs remain unreleased to this day. People Need Love would then be included on ABBA's debut album Ring Ring in March 1973, 1 year after the song was recorded. Now, before we conclude our episode and bring it all into the present day, let's take a look into this very first album and the context of People Need Love. First of all, the trademark trading of lines between male and female lead singers can also be found in 2 other songs on Ring Ring. All 3 songs happen to share the same lyrical themes of love, people need love, love isn't easy, and compassion, especially People Need Love and He Is Your Brother. And there is more to these 2 songs and their mutual theme. Last year, during ABBA's Instagram journey through time, Björn said about He Is Your Brother, both melody and lyric have a hint of gospel in them. I can hear this sung in a Southern Baptist church on a Sunday. And that's an interesting connection to People Need Love, because it reminded me of a comment by Carl Magnus Palm in his book ABBA, The Complete Recording Sessions, in which he also described People Need Love as having a gospel pop feel. So even on these very first recordings, He Is Your Brother was ABBA's second single, music and lyrics complement each other perfectly, and the themes of love, compassion and understanding are certainly linked to the music itself, in the style and in the back and forth of male and female. So what did they have to say about People Need Love? Benny opened our Instagram journey through time with a brand new comment. After a period of slipping and sliding through the Swedish cabaret scene for far too long, we were all extremely inspired by entering the Metronome studio with Michael Bietretto to record what we thought to be a real pop tune. It came out better than we had expected and gave us confidence for the future. Today we are not only celebrating 50 years of ABBA, but we are celebrating 50 years of ABBA with ABBA being back. We got a new album, we are more and more excited about their new concert experience, and in some way or another, Benny's comment about People Need Love could very well be applied to ABBA's first recordings after 35 years, which would eventually lead to an entire album. We were all extremely inspired by entering Mono Music to record what we thought to be a real pop tune. It came out better than we had expected and gave us confidence for the future. Again, it all seems to come full circle, especially in the way they naturally came together back then and how they gradually came back together now. Their first simple message was that people need love. People needed it back then, they certainly need it now, they will always need it. And ABBA has given us lots of love. In their very first song, they were already singing about faith. People need faith in a helping hand, and somehow they return to this sentiment, they still have faith. Starting with People Need Love, their aim was to address younger fans, so these young fans kept coming and coming for the next decades. 50 years after People Need Love, ABBA decided to return to give us an entire new album. For many of their now younger fans, they gave an experience for the very first time that they just never had. At the same time, they also gave an experience to all of their fans who have been so loyally with them for this incredible period of time. So with Voyage, ABBA literally managed to cross space and time to bring together generations for the ultimate experience that no one could have ever expected. There is no better way to celebrate 50 years of ABBA, so let's all join in and get this party started. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here, for returning to these videos, and especially for leaving your wonderful memories, thoughts and additions. Alright, until then, hey do!